Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. You know how much I love the performing arts, anything to do with the arts here on the TED Show, especially in our community. And today I'm blessed and lucky enough to have McKenzie Pollock and Jacquelyn Pileckas. Close. Did I do it, Jacquelyn?
You got it.
They are with Opera del Sol. We're going to talk about the upcoming Scalia Ginsburg performance, which is really cool. The whole concept of this is cool, and I can't wait for the audience to hear more about it. Just excited to have you guys on. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Doing great this morning.
Good.
Happy to be here. Excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I read enough to be dangerous about Scalia and Ginsburg, and I just love the whole concept of that. And I love the way that it's set up, and I can't wait to hear more. But before we take a deep dive into that, I told you before we went live that the audience loves to know a little bit about who's on the show. So we'll start at my top, which is McKenzie. McKenzie, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm the assistant director for Scalia Ginsburg, and our director is David Bracamonte. So we've been working very closely to create a product that we think will help people be reminded that it's about our unity. It's about what we actually have in common despite our differing beliefs. And a little bit about myself is that I actually started as a performer. I got my degree in classical voice. And so I have a lot of relatability to our fellow performers on stage, and do my best to try and make sure that I am communicating in a way that helps them produce something that is really great.
Was it really quick before I get to Jacquelyn? Was it difficult to go from performer to a director?
It's definitely an interesting switch because there's a little bit of that switch to leadership role in that situation. And it was interesting to be on the other side of the table and see things from that side of the perspective. It was really cool to be able to use that experience from performing to also inform how I was talking to them and what I was seeing.
I love it. Thank you. All right, McKenzie. Now, Jacquelyn. Jacquelyn, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Jacquelyn Pileckas, and I am a mezzo soprano currently based in Orlando, Florida. This is actually, I think, I'm losing count, but this is one of many productions I've done with Opera del Sol and Central Florida Vocal Arts, and I'm just super excited to be back. I'm singing the role of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Alex Mansouri is singing the role of Scalia, and Kenny Nisbet is our commentator. So it's been really cool working in a very small cast with a small creative team. You really get to dig into the characters because we're working so closely together, and there's not a ton of people to navigate through.
So did you always know you were a mezzo soprano? Did you always sing? Like, what was your transition from being a kid? You know, a lot of kids sing a lot, but this is your career. This is your life. This is your passion.
Yeah, so I'm really, really lucky. When I was 13, I auditioned for a program in Virginia called the Governor's School for the Arts. And they have the vocal music department, which primarily deals with classical voice and opera. I did not come from a musical family, but I got accepted and I fell in love with it. So I've been singing opera since I was 14. I was in the children's chorus of Hansel and Gretel with Virginia Opera, actually. And I ended up in Florida because I moved to Gainesville to get my master's at the University of Florida. And then I ended up here. But it's funny that you ask if I've always known I was a mezzo. I actually went through a couple years in my undergrad where I was moved to soprano. It was a fun time, but I'm very happy to be back as a mezzo. I think a lot of people go through a bit of discovery when you're finding where your voice settles. For a lot of singers, it's not like finalized until you're in your 30s and 40s. So, but I'm happy to be back. I also think my speaking voice gives away a little bit that I'm on the lower side of things.
And I think it's fascinating that you didn't come from a musical family or a musical, because most of the time, so this is just a spontaneous gift that happened to be given to you.
I should say my mom did do choir for fun. She was also a ballerina. So I do have a little bit there, but I'm thinking more like my family members all play like football and soccer and field hockey. So very, very much of a contrast at family reunions growing up.
Yeah.
But I bet you get asked to sing all the time.
Yes. Yes. Like, if you need the national anthem, I'm here. Wedding, also here.
Well, I want to hear more about the production. So, Scalia Ginsburg. It's just such an interesting combination, and to throw music in there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came to be for you all? Like, how do you choose a production? And then what's the impetus? Like, I loved what you shared earlier, McKenzie, but if you guys can go a little bit deeper, because I think people hear that and they think history lesson, I'm out, or how is that ever going to be entertaining? But it really is. Tell them about that from y'all's perspective.
Right. So this one in particular is landing during an election season, and Super Tuesday just passed. We are going to be having our primaries and things like that going on for a lot of different areas of the country. And one of the great things about Justice Scalia and Justice Ginsburg is that they had very polarizing opinions, but their differing opinions actually made them better at their own beliefs, at their own arguments. It helped them inform a little bit more when they actually would write their dissents. They would have a little bit of a better writing because of that. And that's from their actual quotes about each other and their friendship. And I think, especially in a climate where an election season can be very polarizing, it is nice to have that reminder that there is that friendship there and that we can still be friends and still find commonalities between each other. And I think that our opera is actually very good at using, while we have these deep political ideologies that we're discussing and this history that we're discussing, we actually lean in a lot into comedy. There's a great way to get to people. I think the Daily Show and other comedic places are a good example of this. Going to people through comedy is a great way to get a message across. It's a great way for them to be able to hear something like that. And I think this opera does a great job of kind of giving that little wink to the side throughout the entire thing.
I love it. And a lot of people don't know that they had a friendship, an actual friendship, even though they were pretty much at opposing sides for a lot of different things, but they had an actual friendship. And you're right. I think that strengthened their beliefs and how they approach things. I think that's a great way to recap that.
Absolutely.
For a performer, Jacquelyn, when you hear the idea that Scalia Ginsburg is going to be something you can sing at, what is the thought process there?
I think for me, I was just so delighted to be asked because I saw that they were doing this show, and I've always had a passion for modern works that talk specifically to the world that we live in. I love opera, but I've always found it really, really hard to relate to a lot of female characters because they're either dying of a broken heart or dying of tuberculosis or dying, through any kind of means. And
they're always dying.
They're always dying over a man. And a lot of the decisions never made sense to me. And I'm not saying we can't find the humanity in all of those stories. However, I just think it's wonderful to be doing something that speaks so, I think, poignantly to our lived experience in 2024 for a lot of people who live in the US right now. And also just as like a woman myself, it's really, really cool to get to play somebody who is a three-dimensional person and to get to be in an opera that's focused on friendship. There is a love story here, but it's about two friends coming together. And I love that. I really relate to it because in my own life, my best friend and I are very politically opposed. And so I've been able to draw from that experience for this show.
It's such an important lesson for this day and age right now, because it feels like we're not focused at all on any kind of similarities. We're focused completely on the differences. And it's just been such a divisive time. And so I love that that this particular opera, this particular story focuses on that you can have friends who are diametrically opposed as far as any kind of issues go, and you can still have a friendship and still talk like human beings to each other, and still communicate in a way that is not such hateful rhetoric, which we have a lot of going on in our world right now. So talk about singing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Are you singing her arguments? Are you singing her, because I think people will want to know, oh my God, what is she going to do? How is she going to perform?
So Derek Wang, who wrote the opera, was a law student at the time that he wrote it. So his concept for the show was drawing from this idea of legal precedent. For the music, he wanted to draw from this idea of operatic precedent. So there's all these quotes you're going to hear from different operas like The Marriage of Figaro and Carmen and The Magic Flute, like sprinkled in, La Traviata, sprinkled in throughout the music, that are then going to morph into new music. It's kind of a fun Easter egg for any opera lovers who are coming, like see how many different shows you can hear. But also it really speaks to how both of these justices absolutely loved opera. I know Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually saw the show quite a few times, and she loved it and spoke to how it was wonderful to see herself in a position where she could sing. And in addition to that, a lot of the text does draw from their various like dissents and arguments over time. The first aria that I sing is called You Are Searching in Vain for a Bright Line Solution, which is drawing from one of her dissents. And also, you can't see, but I have my RBG t-shirt on.
Nice.
And this line, women belong in all places where decisions are being made, also makes an appearance as well.
So awesome. All right. So you are going to be kind enough to grant us a little snippet of you singing, which I think is so awesome. So I'll take McKenzie and I off. Will you set us up for where this is in the opera and give us a little bit?
Yeah. This is from Ruth's second aria. It's called You, Sir, Are Wrong Here. I'll do a little bit of it, and I'm going to fast forward. I've got a little track, but she is talking to the commentator at this point who says there's no room for women in this chamber. And that really sets Ruth afire. And so she's saying that you're wrong here because women do belong in all these different places.
Love it.
And give me one moment here.
Take your time.
Ooh.
As I steal your wall.
Here we go.
962-ish, that area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I am hurt, hurt. You, sir, are wrong here to tell me I don't belong here. You sound like a certain employer, a hot dog, justice, and lawyer. Reading supreme, he took up your theme and said to me that I'd never clerk here, for women were not to work here. For he was not a man to shy away from scandal, but was a penalty so delicate to handle the thought of women at the bar. And you'll just have to come to the show and hear the rest.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that voice to come out of you. That's what I always love about opera, because you just cannot believe that's such talent. It's beautiful, by the way, but I love your inflection on that. And I think that is just so cool. I think people, what do you say to people who are intimidated by opera? Because I think that's the number one thing I get from anyone who watches the shows. They're like, I know, but I just don't get it. This is a place where you might get it because it's in English. Yeah. But encourage people, give them an idea of why, what they can do to maybe not be so intimidated.
I get this question a lot, and every time I meet somebody who it's their first time at the opera, I just get really excited. And for me, it's just let yourself embrace the music and the story. I would say something that does help is read the program notes that give you the outline of a plot, not just for this one, but especially those foreign language operas, and don't feel like you have to be like, there's a song cycle by Leonard Bernstein called I Hate Music. It's about a little girl. And she says, I hate music. Music is silly. Music is a lot of men in a large dark hall where they really don't want to be at all. And I think that a lot of people share that character's opinion. I'm like, no, it's really fun. I mean, I always think about if anybody watches like Bridgerton or any Regency era romances, they're always going to the opera. And I'm just like, oh, hey, it used to be this fun experience. People would play cards, they would talk, they would eat. And I'm of the opinion, like, let's bring it back. It's not intimidating. If you want to laugh because something is funny, laugh. If you want to applaud because something was amazing, applaud. There are all these rules that people have made up. Feel free to ignore them.
And I think a great thing about our modern operas too, our opera right now is actually running only about an hour long. And I think a lot of people, when they go to see an opera, they think of Wagner's like 4-hour long pieces where they're going to be like snoozing. It's not that. There's some beautiful music coming from those moments, but it's like you say, in a TikTok era or in an era where we're used to having very short attention spans, sometimes the points getting across in that short time is the most effective. And I think it's also just fun that we have very silly moments in this that people are going to laugh at. It's just a great piece.
I'm very excited. All right, so tell them the best way they can find out more, how they can get tickets, and all of that good stuff. Give us the 411.
Yeah, so we are going to be hosting the opera from March 15th through March 17th, which actually runs over the weekend of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birthday. Ooh. And we're also in the middle of Women's History Month, which is a great time for us to be representing a mostly female-led company with Opera del Sol and Central Florida Vocal Arts. And we're not an all-women's organization, but since we do have so many women in that leadership position, it's such a great kind of shout out to that. And we are going to be having our tickets online for operadelsol.org, or you can go to the Dr. Phillips Center website to also get those tickets as well. And awesome. Yeah, it'll be great.
Well, I'm excited. It's all right. It's a puppy. I have mine in the back. He just isn't barking right now. McKenzie, Jacquelyn, thank you guys so much. That was absolutely beautiful, Jacquelyn. Thank you for coming on. You can get your tickets for Scalia Ginsburg at operadelsol.org. It starts Friday and goes through the weekend. What a great idea, and what an amazing opportunity for you to go see opera. You all ask me about this all the time. The arts, this is accessible, and it's in the English language, and it's about two people that you should know about if you don't know about. So thank you both so much. Thanks to Opera del Sol. I appreciate everybody involved. You all get out and support the arts. Go to operadelsol.org. You all have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Thanks again.